Hey everybody, this is Ben back with you in the Midwest Model Shop. Today is a very big day. We're going to talk about the 1/200 scale Fletcher class destroyer by Trumpeter. I know you've all seen rumors, heard rumors, looked in the magazine and seen the little pictures that they've got there and everything and wondered, is this happening? Is it coming? Yes, it is happening, and we're going to take a look at the very first test shots of the model here today. So first of all, if none of you are subscribed or follow this channel, please give a like and a thumbs up and a subscribe to follow along, because we will be building this ship when it comes out, obviously. And then also feel free to check out our website, themidwestmodelshop.com. We have a lot of 3D printed parts there to help make building models easier. That's the idea. And if you see something out of stock, please give it a day or two. We try our best to keep the printers running to maintain our inventory, so it'll be back very quickly. Okay, so let's get a few things out of the way here. What we've received in the mail is the test shot of the Fletcher. The test shot means it's kind of like when I do a test print on my 3D printer. They've designed it, they get the molds made, they put it together, and they just real quick check to see that it works and take a look at the initial parts and see what you have. Typically the results are it's like, hey, it worked, everything's going. Maybe they need to change the molds to make sure the plastic folds correctly. It's a test, and that is what we have received. So not everything's perfect. This is definitely not the final product. I did not receive a box. I did not receive any instructions. I just got a few bags and an inventory sheet saying what 3 ships we've got, which is the Sullivans, Fletcher, and Sullivans. And everything was just bagged up loose in plastic bags. Okay, so it's not, this is very early on. So how did we get to this point? Ben, how did you get this stuff? Almost 3 years ago, I was building and wrapping up the Missouri, and I said, man, they need to have a 1/200 scale Fletcher, because it's a shorter build. It's a very cool model. It's a great scale. Everything's nice and big, but it's not going to take you a year to make. And if you live in an apartment, you would be able to fit this in your apartment. If you're a 1/700 scale model builder, and I know a lot of people are, I realized that the Fletcher's hull in 1/200 scale would be just a little bit larger than a 1/700 scale battleship or aircraft carrier. So you should have room for it. Long story short, I made a proposal to Trumpeter that justified them pursuing this product from a business perspective. It made sense. So they went ahead and agreed to do the project, and then they asked for my assistance with it, for whatever I could provide them with. And we moved forward 3 years ago with that. So what did I provide them with? Obviously a bunch of the regular stuff that you can all find on the internet. But then I went on Amazon and I picked up the Super Drawings in 3D Fletcher book, which back then I could get. Foolishly, I only bought 1 copy because I assumed I'd be able to get another one. Well, I can't. They don't exist anymore as far as I could tell. So those are 3D drawings that I sent the book over to Trumpeter, and inside of there were 1/200 scale plans, which I hoped would be very helpful to them. Also, down the road a ways, I was able to acquire, these are very old, model construction plan ships by Webb Warship Company. And this is the USS Fletcher. And I'll put up on the screen now these 3 plans, which they fold out and they're huge. They're the size of my table. They're in 1/96 scale. But I scanned these full size, and I also sent them over to Trumpeter in China so that they could use them for the build. Now, that is the information that I provide them with. That doesn't mean they used that information. That doesn't mean they used it accurately. That doesn't mean that they were actually able to take the exact design of the ship and make a mold for it, per se. There's all sorts of limitations, but this is the information I provided them with. Time went by, and we're coming up on 3 years here. I have an email from them saying the project begins, and now we are at the test shot phase, which is very exciting. So these things don't happen quickly. a couple of housekeeping rules though. One, please do not email me asking me to tell Trumpeter anything, because I'm not going to do that. I'm going to ignore those emails. Two, please do not email Trumpeter asking for silly things and critiquing and complaining and whining about things. I feel bad that I even have to say that, but unfortunately, I think some of you in the Titanic world know what has happened, and these are real people. They put a lot of time and effort into these things, and if you come at them slinging rocks all the time, they shut down. And that has happened with the Titanic project. I mean, if you were missing a part or something's wrong with your kit, good luck. Trumpeter's not interested in helping you anymore. And that's because of things that people have said that they should not have. So don't do that with the Fletcher, okay, please? Just don't do that. So what we're going to do is I'm going to pull the model out, the parts that I have, and we're just going to take a good look at them so that you could see that, yes, this actually does exist. I found one problem that I was a little disappointed about, and that has to do with the profile of the hull in one particular area. There's a little, it sweeps, and the sweep towards the back is a little bit low. And I've addressed this issue with them. I've sent them drawings. I've pointed this out. And if they could fix it, that's fantastic. If they can't, it's not that bad. It's not like, oh no, the model's ruined. You could fix it very easily. Nigel, I'm sure, will be all over it, and it's a simple fix. Really way less complicated than any other hull work that he's doing. This is, in my opinion, the most accurate hull that they've made to date. And again, this is a test shot. This is a test. It doesn't mean that this is what they're going to send to you in the final box. But it's 1/200th scale, and I measured it out. I think I went with the Sullivans or the Stevens hull because they sent me a Stevens hull. That's 376 feet and 6 inches long. That works out to basically 22 inches and 22 and 9/16 inches, and you'll see that that's right on the mark. The width, the beam was 39 feet 8 inches. That basically works out to 2 inches and 19/50ths, which is like hard to measure on a standard tape measure. So we'll just call it 2 3/8 inch. We're right there. The height of the bow is spot on. The height of the stern is spot on. The front of the ship, all of that's spot on. It's really accurate. They did a really nice job getting the scaling correct. I'm super happy with it. Like I said, there's just a little dip I don't like. And then we're also missing the bilge keels. I think I'm missing a sprue. I think we're not quite finished yet. But I asked about the bilge keels, says you got to fix that. You need to provide those. But there's no stand either. And I haven't received a Trumpeter kit that didn't have a stand. So you'll see what's going on here. We're going to look at the parts. We're going to look at the identification of things. And yeah, it's really, really exciting. And so anyway, I hope you like this look. Feel free to check out our website. Like and subscribe. As I get more information, if they send me anything else, I'll obviously put it up here. And I have no idea what it's going to cost, and I have no idea what the baseline price is for suppliers. I asked about that information, and my contact doesn't have that yet. Also, do not email me asking for the contact's information and name. I'm not going to share that either. We don't want to harass anybody over there. We just want to really celebrate and be excited about this project coming out. All right, so that's about it. Let's go ahead and take a look at the model. All right, folks, here we go. So I put down some cardboard, backed the camera up to try and make all of this show up as best as possible. We're going to start off here with the hull. That's probably, I don't know, I guess the biggest thing. The hull is very nicely shaped. We'll talk about a few things in detail in a minute here. But what you should know is on the inside of the one that I received, says right there that it is the Stevens. I suspect that all of them will say the Stevens on the inside. I don't think that, they're just going to pick one and roll with it, right? Now this deck that drops in on top here, and it fits very nicely, with the exception being a little bit of a tiny gap up here in the front. This is the Fletcher deck, and it says so right here. and I'll show you the other two decks. They are marked the Stevens and Sullivans respectively because they are a different shape. So first thing I want to do is let's talk about here. We've got some big hull detail. Now this looks pretty extreme, but it's only about a thousandths or two thick. And I think for the slide mold technology and the mold technology, you're going to have a hard time getting this any thinner. And depending on your reference pictures, this actually might be pretty correct. But regardless, it's raised, which means sanding it down just a little bit, if you think it's too pronounced, is going to be really easy to do. Now they have added some hull plate detail here, and as you can see, they put in some nice rivets, which is a nice little touch. What I did notice right away, though, is on the bottom here, and I because this is a test shot, the molds were all like, there's a ton of flashes stuff here, so I sanded this off. In the middle here, you'll notice no bilge keels. And what I noticed right away is there's no markings for a bilge keel on here. So in my response to Trumpeter about this, I asked them, where's the bilge keel? You know, please put the bilge keel on. That's important. You need to have that. Otherwise, generally speaking, the shape of the hull is freaking outstanding. As far as measurements go, let me make sure it's back in here. Let me grab my tape measure. So I converted everything to inches. I know that's frustrating, but the Stevens hull was 376 feet and 6 inches long. Doing some rough math, that works out to 22 inches and what did I say here? 9/16. Yeah, that works out to 22 and 9/16 long in 1/200 scale. So we drop this on here. I'll just do it like this. And I drag it along. You're at 22 and 9/16. You're right there. It's really, really close. The hull width, the real Stevenson's hull was 39 feet 8 inches wide. Let's just call that 2 3/8. You get in there. I mean, you're right there. I'm rounding down a little bit, and depending on where you move to, it's very close to being completely right, which I'm super, super excited about. Now, there's one thing, though, that I was like, I noticed it kind of right away. I went back and forth with some of my friends and my wife about it, and then I did a bunch of measuring to confirm it. If we dump this off, and I turn it like that, take a good look at this profile here. This height of the stern, and we would call this a stern post on the end on a older ship, is spot on. It's exactly right per the drawings that I have. The height of the bow right here, also spot on, just like the length and width of the ship. We're good all the way through here. Back in this area, see this dip? See how it starts off and then kind of swoops down and then swoops back up? And then it swoops up, and then right here, we kind of level out. To come up to here and then level out is correct per the drawings I have. This dip is too exaggerated. And I measured, and basically it's about 2 millimeters too low per the drawings I have. Now, before you lose your mind, this is a test shot. We're not done yet. I have sent them drawings. I sent them the measurements, and I pointed out that this was too low. And I'm hoping that this is something that's easy for them to correct, because they actually need to remove more material from their molds to allow more styrene to come in to bring this up, versus starting all over again with new molds. So I've sent this to them. I hope that they will make that correction. Those are my only two complaints about the hull. Where's the bilge keeled and this profile? Now, how bad really is it? It's not really that bad. Once you start putting, I'll do this later, once you start slapping the equipment on the hull and everything like that, it builds up and it's just really hard to see. They've got this shape back here correct per the drawings that I have. It's one of the best hulls that they have produced so far. And again, this is a test. This is a test shot. This is not necessarily what you're going to get in the mail. Let's go ahead and take just a quick pass over here of the deck, and then what we'll do is we'll start looking at some of the other sprues. Okay, here we are over the deck. You'll notice some nicely raised detail here. These were like walkways. The deck on Fletcher's is steel, and then they had to put some contacts down or grating down so people didn't slip and fall off of the thing. All three of these decks are different per the ship. You know, you get the Fletcher, Sullivans, and the Stevens. They all had different designs. But again, Trumpeter's usual detail. It's very nice, and we have good locating points. I've already tried a couple of the larger deck structures. They clip in to these slots very nicely and fit well, and you know, it's easy to put together. All right, let's move on with some other parts. All right, in no particular order, I received 3 bags from Trumpeter with the different parts for each 3 versions of the ship. The Fletcher bag came with the most parts because it's obviously going to be most of the common pieces. So I'm just going to pull them out in no particular order. Now, as you can see, we have some damage here to our torpedo launchers. Again, this is a test shot. This is not the finished product per se, and they just quickly whip these out, and who knows what quality of product they opted to send to me. But the detail that they are working with is pretty sharp there. And I was also happy to see up here, these are our depth charges, and then they've got a bunch of little details. Again, nicely done. I'm pleased with the quality of the things that we're seeing here. And here's your little ship's boat, and there's your rudder, and there's one of the anchors. Got some of the guns. The barrels to the guns, as you can see, are hollowed out on the end. I'm sure there'll be some aftermarket stuff down the road, but all good stuff. And then here you have some of your lights. And this, to echo the point of the project, this is all stuff you get in the big, large-scale warships that you have hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of. These are a lot of the same parts, and you just have lower numbers of them, so it's a good experience. Now, I want to point out right here, it says 1/200 Stevens, even though this is in the bag for the generic parts for Fletcher. So I got a lot of gun mounts. For some reason, they threw a bunch in each bag, and they're basically all the same. This one has some detail on the top, which matches my drawings. And they look really nice. Then this one doesn't have that piece on the top, which also matches my drawings. There's 2 versions of these, depending on where they were placed. But nice detail there for the guns. And then we get these in all of them. All right. Another chunk of the Fletcher here. I'm not sure what all of these parts are. We got the deck, some of the funnels, some lights. This is for our main gun director. And then this is sprue C. Again, I did not receive any instructions or paperwork with this. And also, again, up here in the corner, it says it's the Stevens. So I think they may have started with the Stevens first. They sent me so then we also end up with another sprue A, just like the other one we had. I suspect you need a couple of these to do everything. Although I don't know that you need another set of the torpedo launchers. Again, this one came out real rough. The potential for the detail there is really nice. They just gotta, I don't know if someone yanked this out or what they did. If they didn't have enough release agent on the mold, but yeah, it got roughed up, but that's okay. And then we've got our Oerlikon cannons, and you have your torpedo halves, your torpedoes down here, which you would see coming out of the end of the torpedo launcher right here. So it's great that they molded those separately. So this is the, not sure what this is. This is sprue B, but we've got our nameplate right here. And this one, of course, says USS Fletcher on it. But on the back of the very same sprue, it says Stevens. So, again, things are generic as appropriate. So this is parts of the drive shaft going out to our props. We've got 2 of those. I'm missing one of my supports. It was ripped off. This is the other parts. And then we've got some unique little pieces here. And again, some nice detail I don't know where all these parts go, instructions, but I think this is part of our depth charge rack that goes in the back. It's nice. It's all there. I do not have a stand, though. I'm assuming maybe that's a missing sprue or they're working on it still. All right, then there's this piece. This is sprue E. This is your little side blast shield area, I guess. I forget what it's called, but it's a very distinct part of the side of the ship. Some depth charges here. Maybe hedgehogs, some directors, and then some other small pieces, and then we have a piece of the hull structure right here. Sprue E, and again, this one says Fletcher on it. Very interesting. So this one may be specific to it. So then we have a couple of our hull pieces here, and again another gun. I'm not really sure why this one was thrown in there separately, but it's here, and this one says Sullivans on it. So these parts should be for the Fletcher, and then we have our curved conning tower there, but again on the back here it says Sullivans, sprue J. More detail for your main deck with your mounts. And it's nice. The detail is nice. I think they've improved their job. Like these doors, the hatches, sorry. I wouldn't remove those. I think they look really nice. And then this one is L, and it says Fletcher on it. So these are going to be definitely for the Fletcher. So that concludes the main parts that came in the bag for the Fletcher. Now let's take a look at the other bags, which have a lot less content. Alright, now we're moving on to the Sullivans. So this is our same Sullivans hull that we had before. I only have one. But here is the deck for the Sullivans. And it's pretty much the same until you get in the back here. You've got a different arrangement for some anti-aircraft tubs and a shorter area for the depth charges. And it fits on the hull very nicely, just like our previous Fletcher hull deck. It drops right in. And again, there's a little bit of a gap here in the front, which will require some filling, or if the hull's corrected or you correct it and you bring it up a little bit through here, that would probably slide forward just a little bit, maybe, because if I push it down I could force it into being tight. I mean, it fits everywhere else, especially in the stern, extremely well. This is a well done arrangement here with the deck. So I'm pleased with how the shape of this has turned out. So again, this is the deck and the detail that's on it. Nothing too special, nothing too complicated, it's just a nice Fletcher. Alright, let's look at some of the other parts. Alright, again another bag full of guns, and they say Sullivans on them, which is fine because they're all basically the same thing. I wouldn't really expect anything different there. Alright, so we have this sprue with a ton of flashing on it. Again, test print, you're going to get flashing. You're going to have, this is just done real quick down and dirty, right? But we've got some different shaped parts up here for the conning tower and things that match up. This is sprue F, and on it, it says Sullivans, which is the ship that we're looking at here. So this sprue is specific to that destroyer, which is why you have some different parts on it, which is nice. And your little paravane, another little hull piece right here. It's all nice. And then the different style gun director as well. Next we have these two sprues. This is anti-aircraft gun parts, specifically the 40mm Bofors are included. This, as far as I could tell, is your typical Trumpeter Bofors parts, and then we've got some tiny little details here. I don't know what those go to, but I'm sure that they're unique to the ship. And then more depth charges, but smaller quantities given the anti-aircraft gun placements. And then whatever all of those are. And this sprue is the same thing. Here is part G, here's the part number up there on the top, which corresponds to the Sullivans. Alright, then we have some larger deck pieces here on the sprue. They're spread really far out. I'm not going to pop them off quite yet here. Give you an idea of what's going on. Some of you who are experts on these ships will undoubtedly recognize these shapes. I think they look good though. I think the detail's there. And then it's sprue M, and it is for the Sullivans specifically. Alright, last but not least, we have these. I think go on immediately onto the main deck. Different anti-aircraft gun tubs. Different features on the housing here. Again, I think the detail is nice, and I think it's appropriate. I always thought Trumpeter did a good job with this stuff out of the box. This sprue is November, and it is for the Sullivans. Okay, let's move on to our last little bit, and that's going to be for the Stevens. Alright, Stevens are starting off. I've got 4 of our 5-inch gun turrets. Same as before. This one actually, they say Stevens though because they're for the Stevens. This is what the whole thing has been kind of based on. I think they just started here, or enough of the parts for the Steven were generic enough that you're taking care of the Fletcher and the Stevens all in one fell swoop. Alright, here's the Stevens deck, and it is I guess the most different in the sense that we've got this big hole right here, and we've got a uniquely shaped gun tub in the back. And I'll bring this up closer here. We'll do our little pass so you can see what's going on. Again, I think the detail is nice. And this big blob is great. You don't need to remove it. I'll demonstrate that in a moment here. And there's our detail in the stern. Not too bad. Everything on the inside looks nice on the tub. Given the limitations of the technology, this is really nice. Alright, so here's our hull. Again, drops right in. Fits very nicely. If I don't move it, you've got that same little gap up at the front. Everything along the way goes together and fits snug and extremely well. I'm happy with that. Now they did give us a loose kind of like superstructure part right here. As you can see, there's a lot of detail. They've gotten the vents put in place. You've got some exterior pipes. These, I don't know what's going on here. Maybe those are vents for the machinery. I just think they did a really, really nice job with this piece. There's a ladder right there that, we could use some photo etch for that piece. We'll spin it around. Look, they've even molded the handle onto the door, the little wheel. That's cool. It looks good. And then the vents in the back. So I figured out if I take this piece, and we'll go to our model here, it drops in. Is this it? Am I got it right? Yeah. No. It'll fit on the hull the way it's supposed to, like this. And there you're starting to get some of the hull assembly. Try and back this up so it'll all fit in here. And now that the equipment's on there, the dip that I was a little concerned about is not nearly as obvious, and it looks a lot better. The ship looks a lot tidier there. So as you can see, it'll build up very quickly. This is why I wanted Trumpeter to make these. You want to have the experience of the big scale 1/200 ships, but I don't want to spend my whole life building them, years and years and years. I mean, we're moving along very quickly here, just slapping some pieces together and putting some paint on this. You already have a lot of ship. So these I don't expect to be very long builds. All right, last but not least, we have this sprue that they sent. There's nothing super significant about it. You've got our parts that are specific to the Sullivans, and this is sprue D. And we'll just quickly kind of move along here. Again, unique parts specific to this version of the ship. Very cool. So that's going to do it for now. Back this up here. This is our 1/200 scale by Trumpeter Fletcher test shot. This is a test. This is not the final product. I have emailed them one more time about maybe this little dip, and then definitely, you know, the keel is missing. There's no stand. I suspect they've always had a stand. I suspect there's a stand and keel parts and things like that that just didn't come to me. We're still on the early stage. They have to work out some photo etch and everything for their detail set to add on to this. You know, this is preliminary. The rumor that I heard from my club is that these will be out towards the end of 2024, fall of 2024, hopefully before Christmas time. I'm hoping to hear more from them about this with some feedback, and maybe we'll get some more parts down the road. We will see. But it's here, ladies and gentlemen, the 1/200 scale Fletcher class destroyer by Trumpeter. Remember, if you want to model all of them, you need to buy 175. I think that's what the U.S. Navy bought and produced during World War II. All right, that's it for now. We'll see you guys in a bit.